The first night I slept on the couch, I told myself it was temporary. Just a weekend thing. A favor to the nice couple from Michigan, who booked last minute and really loved the photos. Mom was already flustered trying to get the house ready, and Dad had been unusually cheerful, sweeping leaves off the front steps like it mattered. They said the couple just needed a cozy local place for their friend's wedding nearby. My room had the biggest window and the only queen-sized bed. "You don't mind, right?" Mom asked without waiting for my answer. "You barely sleep there anyway." I was home from college for the summer. I didn't have a lease elsewhere. I didn't have anywhere else to go. That first night, I laid curled up on the living room couch, half covered with a scratchy throw blanket, trying not to cry while their laughter floated down the hallway. I knew I was being unreasonable. That's what I kept telling myself. It was just for the weekend. By Wednesday, a new guest had arrived. They didn't even tell me this one was coming. I just came home from my part-time job at the library to find my backpack on the floor of the hallway and a man's suitcase where my laundry basket used to be. He smiled at me like I was the intruder. I stepped out and sat on the porch until it got dark. No one came to check on me. That night, I slept in the basement. Not the finished side, the other half, the cement floor, the smell of storage bins and mildew. I didn't ask for much. I didn't even want to be here for the summer, if I'm honest. But my campus job didn't cover off-season housing, and Dad made a whole thing about how I should just come home, because family is always here for you. I remember brushing my teeth that night with the same toothbrush I used in 7th grade. They never replaced it. The mirror above the sink still had stickers I peeled off old notebooks. None of it felt like mine anymore. When I confronted them, gently, carefully, the way you learn to talk when you've grown up tiptoeing around mood swings, Mom looked genuinely hurt. "We thought you were okay with it," she said, like I'd betrayed her. "You didn't say anything." Dad just grunted from the recliner. "You're not even here half the year, and we need the extra money." That word stuck to my ribs. Need. They didn't need it. I'd seen the new car, the patio furniture set, the fridge full of things I wasn't allowed to touch. What they needed was for me to stay quiet. What they needed was my room, not me. I started keeping my socks in a shoebox, my shirts in a plastic grocery bag under the coffee table. Every night I'd fold the blanket in half and tuck it under my head like a pillow, careful not to wrinkle the cushions too much, because God forbid I leave a mess where guests might see. There was no privacy. I showered with the door locked and still heard footsteps outside, voices I didn't know, keys jingling like I was in a hotel I hadn't booked. Once I caught one of the guests peeking into the kitchen while I stood there making ramen. He smiled, said, "You the housekeeper?" I smiled back, because I didn't have the energy to explain. That weekend I tried to sleep early, but a group of guests had people over, loud ones. They brought drinks, laughter, and a Bluetooth speaker that played tinny pop songs until past midnight. I covered my ears and waited for someone in the family to say something. No one did. Mom just told me in the morning. They left a great review, said we had a cozy vibe. That word again, we. She made blueberry pancakes for the guests, my favorite. I wasn't offered any. Instead, I picked at a bruised banana by the sink while she wiped the counter and asked if I'd mind doing laundry later. You know, sheets and towels from the last checkout. Like I worked there. Like I owed her this. When I was 15, I once rearranged the entire pantry while she was sick. I wrote out labels, threw out old cereal boxes, Even bought little plastic jars with my allowance so things looked neat and fresh. She walked in, took one look, and said, "Why'd you move the pasta?" I remember how long I stood there hoping she'd notice the rest. She never did. Now I was 22, doing other people's laundry in the house I used to live in, the one with my initials scratched into the back of the closet door. The guests were everywhere. One of them left a towel on the couch I was supposed to sleep on. Another one borrowed a charger and forgot to return it. When I mentioned it, Mom said, "Well, you should have marked your things. They didn't know it was yours." It hit me. Nothing here was mine anymore. Not my space, not my bed, not even my charger. So I stopped trying. I started keeping my things in the trunk of my car. My laptop, charger, notebooks, extra shirt. I'd go to the library in the morning and stay out until dark, killing time in the back corner near the large windows. No one asked where I went. No one noticed the distance. One evening I came back early, tired, hungry, hoping maybe the house was empty just this once. It wasn't. There was a little girl in my old bedroom. Her mom was brushing her hair. The door was wide open. I stood there, like a stranger on my own porch, holding my backpack, watching the reflection of my old curtains, pale yellow with soft floral prints, in the window behind them. She looked so at home, so safe, and I realized I hadn't felt that way in years. The library became a second skin. It was cold, always, even in summer. That kind of stale, over-air-conditioned cold that seeps into your sleeves and makes your fingers numb. But I preferred it to home. The quiet was cleaner. Nobody talked over me. Nobody brushed past me like I was a broom in the corner. I started doing small things just to feel real again. Returning every single book exactly on time. Fixing the chairs people left crooked. Rewriting my resume even though I wasn't applying anywhere. It gave my days shape. Somewhere around July, I stopped going home for dinner. At first, I said I was studying late. Then I stopped explaining. No one asked why. Sometimes I ate crackers behind a row of old encyclopedias. Sometimes just water. The hunger didn't sting after a while. The invisibility did. On a Thursday afternoon, I came back because I needed to grab a package. I had it delivered to the house. A mistake, clearly. It was one of those padded, yellow envelopes with a little bottle of retinol I'd saved up for. It cost me 3 shifts and a skipped meal. It was opened. Half used. Sitting on the bathroom shelf with someone else's toothbrush. I didn't even ask. What was the point? I just stood there staring at the half-smeared label with my name on it. That little lowercase e in my surname, written the way only I spell it. Like a whisper that barely mattered. I opened the cabinet and pushed it to the back. Behind the cough syrup. Behind the cotton swabs. Out of sight. Like me. Later that week, I overheard Mom telling her sister on the phone. It's been so nice having people around the house. Just more lively, you know? Her voice was full of light, like she was proud. I leaned against the hallway wall and stared at the wedding photo of her and Dad. They were younger, softer, almost human. That picture used to hang above the fireplace. Now it was beside the Wi-Fi password sign and the Airbnb checkout instructions. I don't think she noticed the difference. That night, I slept in my car. Not because I had to, but because I couldn't stand to be in that house 1 second longer. The engine off. The windows cracked. The air tasted like dust and leather. I used my jacket as a pillow. My sweater as a blanket. And still, it felt more like mine than that house ever had. In the morning, I brushed my teeth at the gas station on the corner and washed my face with cold water that smelled faintly of rust. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, "You're disappearing." And no one even noticed. There's a strange kind of silence that comes with being forgotten. It doesn't scream or break things. It doesn't even cry. It just sits next to you. Every morning. Every night. Like a quiet roommate no one else can see, I stopped speaking. At home, unless someone asked me a direct question. Even then, I kept it to one word. Fine. Yeah. No. They didn't seem to notice the difference. Mom asked once if I was getting enough sleep. I told her the couch hurt my back. She laughed and said, "Welcome to adulthood," as if I hadn't been an adult since the day I learned to eat last, just in case there wasn't enough. One evening, I came home and found the front door locked. My key didn't work. They'd installed a keypad. I stood on the porch with my phone in my hand, staring at the numbers glowing faintly in the dark. There was no text, no email, no warning. Eventually, Mom opened the door. "Oh," she said, like she wasn't expecting me. "We changed the locks for guest safety. You should have texted before coming." "I live here," I said. She smiled, tight and polite. "Of course, sweetheart, but it's just until we figure things out, okay?" Figure things out. That phrase sat like cold soup in my stomach. Vague, lukewarm, dismissive. I slept in my car again that night, and I didn't go back the next day. Instead, I started showering at the campus gym. The student ID still worked. I found a rhythm. Wake early, wipe the car windows clear of dew, brush my hair in the side mirror, drive to campus and pretend I belonged there. I rented a locker in the library basement and stored a few clothes inside, rotating outfits like a quiet ritual. I ate granola bars in the stairwell. I used a coffee shop bathroom to wash my face on weekends. Nobody knew. Nobody asked. And strangely, it was peaceful. 2 weeks passed. I didn't hear from them. Then, out of nowhere, Mom sent a text. "Hey honey, guest left early. Can you come by and wash the sheets? XX, no question mark. No apology, no mention of where I'd been. Just a task, like always." I stared at the message for 5 minutes. Then I opened my banking app, transferred $100 from my savings to a prepaid card, and bought myself a quiet little room at a budget motel on the edge of town, just for the night, just so I could sleep with a door that locked from the inside. There was a lamp by the bed with a warm orange glow, a tiny desk with a pen and notepad. The window looked out over the parking lot, but I could see the moon if I leaned just right. It was the first night in months I didn't hear strangers laughing through a wall. I didn't reply to Mom. The motel room smelled like stale soap and lemon disinfectant, but I slept like I hadn't in months. No one knocked. No one walked past in heels. No one asked me to keep it down because a guest needed quiet. The sheets were rough but clean. The lamp flickered a little and I loved it. I stayed 2 nights instead of 1. Then 3. I extended it silently. I didn't tell anyone where I was. I didn't ask anyone for anything. At some point during my 4th night there, I opened my laptop and started making a list. Not a to-do list. Not a bucket list. A what they took list. My bedroom, my privacy, my charger, my mail, my name on the Wi-Fi, my grandmother's quilt, my seat at the table, my toothbrush, my sleep, my quiet. It was longer than I expected. It kept going. They hadn't just taken my space. They'd replaced my presence with profit. I wasn't a person to them anymore. I was unused square footage. The next morning, I stopped by the house for the first time in over a week. I parked at the curb. My hand hesitated on the steering wheel. Same porch. Same flower pot I painted when I was 10. Now chipped and empty. Same smell of laundry detergent leaking from the vents. I knocked. Mom opened the door, her voice bright. "Hey, stranger, you're back." Like it was a joke, like I was just being dramatic. "I'm just here for my things," I said. Her smile faltered. "Oh, are you leaving?" I didn't answer, just walked past her, straight to the living room. The couch was gone, replaced by some slick mid-century sofa. The coffee table had a tray with mints and tiny bottles of shampoo. Even the bookshelf was fake. Cardboard cutouts to look full in photos. My backpack was under the side table. Still there. Forgotten. I walked past my old bedroom. The door was closed. A sign on it now said, "Private room, do not disturb." I almost laughed. I didn't even knock. I didn't need to go in. I'd already taken what I came for. In the hallway, Mom asked, "Do you need money?" "No." "Then what are you going to do?" I looked at her. Really looked. She was wearing her host smile, the kind she put on for guests. "Not for me. Never for me. I'm going to stop making it easy for you," I said quietly. And then I left. I didn't go back to the motel. I didn't need to anymore. That same night, I drove to an old friend's place, Nora. We hadn't spoken in over a year, not since I stopped texting back when life got too heavy. But she opened her door like I'd never left. "You hungry?" she asked, barefoot and blinking in the hallway light. I nodded. We didn't talk about the past, or the house, or what it feels like to be replaced by linens and minibar chocolates. She handed me a bowl of rice and roasted vegetables, and we ate in the kitchen while her cat rubbed against my ankle like it remembered me. I stayed on her futon for 3 nights. Then 4. Then I started paying rent, not because she asked, but because I wanted to, because it felt like mine. Meanwhile, the messages started coming in from Mom. Not questions, tasks. "Can you drop off extra towels for the guests?" "Do you remember where we stored the extra air mattress?" "Someone said they didn't get the key code. Can you help?" "No, hello." "No, how are you?" Just requests wrapped in the assumption that I was still part of their little engine. I didn't reply. I archived every message, one after another, until the silence felt like a shield. On a quiet morning the following week, I made my quiet move. I logged into the online utility portal. I hadn't told them yet. They didn't know it was still in my name. The Wi-Fi account. The electricity, even the water bill, all set up under my student discounts when I moved home last year after dorm closures. I paid the setup fees. I managed the logins. They never asked to change it. I didn't cancel anything. I just changed the passwords. Then I updated the name on the account. Not to Mom or Dad, just a random placeholder. Removed my backup email, removed the autopay, and turned off notifications, not out of spite. Not out of anger, but because I didn't want to be the foundation they forgot they were standing on. That evening, a voicemail came through. Mom, tense, short. "Hey, The Wi-Fi's down. The guests are getting annoyed. Can you please check it? It's important. I sat in Nora's kitchen, staring at my phone on the table while she rinsed mugs in the sink. Outside the window, it was raining. Soft and steady. I didn't play the message again. I didn't respond. Opened my laptop and watched a movie, with perfect signal, under a roof that didn't pretend I wasn't there. The next call came from Dad. I didn't recognize the number. I almost didn't answer. But something in me wanted to hear how his voice would sound now. Not when I was helping, or folding sheets, or covering a bill. Just now. Hey, he said, like we'd spoken yesterday. Wi-Fi's still down. Any idea why? I stayed quiet. I mean, I'm not trying to blame you or anything. It's just, the reviews are starting to mention it. That affects bookings. That sentence told me everything I needed to know. Not, how are you? Not, are you okay? Just, that affects bookings. I almost laughed. But it came out like a breath through my nose. A single puff of air. I think, I said slowly, you'll have to handle it. A pause. Then, what's that supposed to mean? I mean, it's not mine to fix anymore. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, you're being really ungrateful. After everything we've done for you. That part didn't sting the way it used to. Because when I looked around Nora's kitchen, the chipped tile, the little yellow lamp, the cereal, bowl still in the sink, I didn't feel ungrateful. I felt free. That weekend, I got a text from a cousin I hadn't heard from in months. Hey, are you okay? Aunt Jen said you had a meltdown and moved out. That word again. Meltdown, they used it like it was dramatic, like a person quietly moving their things out of a house where their name had been erased was some outburst. I didn't reply. I didn't need to defend myself anymore. A few days later, I stopped by the house one last time. Not to talk. Not to stay. Just to retrieve the last thing that mattered to me. A small metal box under the basement stairs. It held old birthday cards, a photo of Grandma, my first acceptance letter, and a keychain she gave me with a tiny heart on it that said, "You are enough." I dusted it off and walked out without a word. Mom opened the door as I stepped off the porch. "Where are you even staying?" she asked, arms crossed like she was the one who'd been abandoned. "With someone who knows I live there," I said, my voice calm. She blinked, and I kept walking. I never went back to that house again. Not for birthdays. Not for holidays. Not for just dropping by. I left the metal box at Nora's, slid under my side of her bed like a little vault. Every now and then, I open it, run my finger along the edge of that keychain that says, "You are enough," and let it echo through the places their silence used to live in me. The last voicemail I got from Mom was 3 weeks after I changed the passwords. She didn't ask how I was. She said, "I wish you'd stop punishing us. You're being so cold." Cold. That's what they called it. Not boundary, not grief, not self-preservation. Just cold. Because when you stop being convenient, people forget how to love you. But Nora didn't forget. She painted the front door a sea glass blue and gave me a key without asking. She let me take the small room with the squeaky floorboards. Let me hang a photo above the bed. Gave me space but didn't vanish into it. The first time I laughed, really laughed, was over burnt toast and a spilled cup of tea. We stayed up that night watching old cartoons with scratchy audio, the kind you only find on dusty DVDs. The world felt softer. Even the silence had warmth in it. It's strange what we carry. For a long time, I carried guilt for leaving. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for no longer answering their messages that only ever came with requests, never tenderness. But one night, I opened my phone and deleted the entire thread. Every message, every missed call, every breadcrumb they left hoping I'd crawl back. And I slept easy for the first time in years. Sometimes I still drive past the old house. The porch light is different now, probably motion sensor. The flower pot is gone. There's a sign in the yard. Charming guest house, 5 stars. On every stay. I wonder if the guests ever feel how hollow it is inside, if the laughter ever echoes off the walls the way mine used to. I don't hate them, but I don't owe them softness anymore. These days I water my own plants. I make my bed. I pay my bills. I choose my silence. And no one sleeps in my room but me.